اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to our first episode of TABLIGH 101, Breaking the Ice. Today I'm joined by Respected Adnan Mangla Sahib, who will talk to us about effective flyer distribution. Adnan bhai, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Raza bhai. I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to an interesting conversation.
100%, me as well. And I think it's important, when we were thinking about this topic and wanting to talk about it, having gone and done tabligh with you in high foot traffic areas, or even libraries, or trying to get someone to come to our event. I think there's always that person that everyone's kind of trying to get tips from or follow from, because they're like, oh man, this guy's flyers just going off the charts, right? They're just going. So I think a lot of people, when we go with you, everyone kind of tries to look and see, okay, what's Adnan by saying, what's he doing, what should we get from him, picking up from that, coming back to maybe that corner of the intersection that we have, and just going forward. So Jazakallah for coming, and I look forward to maybe asking you some questions about it. Maybe talk about flyer distribution. Why is it something that we do? Why is it so important?
So there's many reasons why we give out flyers. The main reason is to simply spread the message of Jamaat. In this flyer, you can get a vast amount of information across really quickly. So that's one main reason why we go out. The other thing is it's a great way to just engage with the general populace, speak to them, talk to them, get a feel of people, what their stance is on religion. A lot of times the flyer is just a really good icebreaker, and a really good way to just engage someone in conversation and take that conversation to a direction which the flyer will help you do. So one of the many benefits, it's a tool to build a personal contact as well. So that's something that you can do on an ongoing basis, whether that's in the public, whether that's in the setting of a library, or even a colleague at work, or somebody you meet on the subway, or maybe in your daily commute. So many aspects of the flyer that are effective. For sure.
And so now we have the flyers, picture this. So we're going to like a very vibrant or area where there's a lot of foot traffic. You're with your guide, you're with your Zaim, and you have this huge pile of 60 flyers, and you're standing at a corner, and your heart's beating really fast, and you're like, okay, so there's people going by, they look really busy, they look like they have somewhere to go, and you're supposed to now give this flyer to them. Walk me through it. What's the best way to kind of do that?
So I'm glad you mentioned that in the actual scenario of a busy, vibrant city. The number one thing you should do when you venture to do tabligh, in my experience, is to know your audience. So it's really good to know where you are, what you're doing, and who you're speaking to. Let's say it's lunchtime, person doesn't have much time to stop. Or let's say it's Christmas time, people are busy shopping. Chances are they're probably not going to want to stop in that setting specifically, or they may not have the time to stop. So knowing this, the approach you can take in that specific setting is, as an example, let's say somebody's walking up to you, you say, hey, a quick read for the subway. A 1-minute information on Islam, something that you've done repetitively, that's successful. So understand that this person is going to have a 10-second opportunity to pass by you. What can you say that will very quickly entice them to take what's in your hand, and present it to them, be in front of them, give them an opportunity to accept what you're giving them. So in that instance, I would say the key takeaway there is to know your audience.
Perfect. That's such a good point. For the subway example, because if I'm just walking by and someone's giving me something, I wouldn't do it. But if it's oh yeah, okay, I'm about to go on the subway, and so this is I'm gonna be on it for a while. There's no service down there anyways. So what am I gonna do? Look at my photos? I might as well just read whatever you've given me. It's not gonna really waste my time or do anything like that. Now, kind of shifting that, there's a lot of foot traffic, but sometimes I know many years ago we had the iconic event on the Holy Prophet Sallallahu in Roy Thompson Hall, and even for that, we were doing flyer distribution, but on the day of, there's also flyer distribution. We have events and we try to promote them, and sometimes on the day of we try to bring people in. And so you know, in that scenario, what's the best way to do it? How would we do that? Trying to get people that have maybe some time to actually go and come to our event.
Right. So specifically on the day of an event, if there's an actual like open house or like the Roy Thompson Hall event, how do you get people to actually attend?
Exactly.
Great question. Usually in my experience, there's a buzz going around, you know, that there's something really big happening here. And typically, by the grace of Allah, Khudam, when they come out in numbers. So as I was speaking to Motim Saab Tabligh earlier, this actually came up where it's very nice when you have a group of people standing. People are attracted to that, right? And you have one person stop for a flyer, it gives the 10 other people to also stop, right? So you have to create some sort of excitement, and standing outside, like for example, wherever the venue is, and letting people know, hey, free event going on, learn more about Islam. Islam is a hot topic in today's day and age. People want to know and learn, or at least are curious because they hear about Islam a lot. So saying Islam demystified, or a very quick intro, perfecting that. What's worked for me is just having regular go-to lines, as simple as that sounds. One thing I think we should mention here is it's not about the flyer only or the event. The flyer is an icebreaker. You have to become good at engaging people. Essentially, you got to get a read on who's coming your way and how you quickly need to grab their attention.
Okay, so I want to stop you. Rapid fire.
Right.
What are some of your go-to lines?
So let's say someone's walking towards me and they have, let's say, a Toronto Raptors shirt on. I'll be like, man, that was a tough game yesterday. Siakam really dropped the ball again. An amazing way I got his attention. I connected with him on a personal note. That actually happens to me a lot. Let's say somebody's walking by with an Argentina flag or, you know, jersey. Big thing. World Cup just ended. Oh, man, I'm so happy for Messi. Do you have a quick minute? In my experience, it's been my experience, people really, really appreciate that. And it's that one little extra effort that will basically allow you to then engage with them.
So it's not necessarily, what you're saying is not necessarily important to say, like, you know, for the example you're holding in your thing, explore Islam, right? You're like, that's not what you're trying to get at. The point is, like, you know, maybe capturing what you think they're interested in to get their attention and use that as a segue to give them, now they're listening to you. The point is to get them to listen to you. Now they're listening to you. Now you can talk your point.
The age old elevator pitch, right? How do you get somebody's attention in 10 seconds? You're in the elevator with the CEO of the biggest company and you have 3 floors. How are you going to sell him to listen to you or to get you a job interview? You got to perfect the way to approach people. And Explore Islam is a great talking point as well. A lot of the times the flyer will give you enough content. For example, a nationwide campaign about Islam, learn more. That's 5 seconds, but in that 5 seconds you've now captured the person's attention.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I think I never thought about how, like, you know, tailoring the conversation, more so like, okay, I have a flyer, you have to give it out. But now, okay, let's get to it. Like, when you're handing out flyers, you don't know who that person is. Yes, they're an Argentina fan, or yes, they're a Raptors fan. They could also be a PhD in, like, religious studies, right? Or they could always be it could always be a rabbi. It could always be, like, you know, someone who's really involved in their religious community. And so that can kind of, you know, now let's say they've stopped. Oh man, I wasn't expecting this person to stop and ask me a really, you know, tough question or have a conversation with me. Like, what's the best way to kind of, now, okay, you've stopped, that means they're showing some interest. How do I go from here?
Great point. And we actually come across this scenario a lot because, you know, there's a lot of tabligh activities happening. So these type of conversations are happening. Number one point there is know the flyer that you have. Make sure you've read it. Make sure you know the references that are in there, who the promised Messiah is, basic stuff, because it's very possible that the conversation will go to what you're giving them. So number one point I would give there is know the flyer. And the second point is trial by fire. We don't know every answer to every question, right? And this happens in the workplace, this happens at home, in your marriage, this happens with your parents. It's all about repetitiveness and constantly finding yourself in scenarios where you're learning, because guess what? The next time that question may come up, you're going to have the answer to it. In addition, it's always a great idea to have somebody knowledgeable like a murabbi or your guide or somebody senior like a Nazim Tabligh around, so that once you've stopped the person, they have your interest. There's no harm in saying that's a great question, appreciating their question and saying I actually have somebody who knows a little bit more about the topic, and then bring somebody in. When I have the opportunity to Tabligh and I go with my friends, for example, If Jerry Bay and myself are going downtown, I'm looking forward to it, and I have confidence because I don't feel I'm alone on an island and there's somebody with me. So having a peer or a buddy, even if you know in everyday conversation, three is a crowd, right? So it helps having an additional person with you. So there's a few ways, but my biggest takeaway here would be is don't be afraid of a question you don't know the answer to, because there's answers for everything. You just need to, let that person know, appreciate their question, and then use the resources you have available.
And I guess like being an MD Muslim, that's what can give you confidence. Like, you may not know the answer, but because Islam is the truth, we have the answer.
Exactly.
You just don't know it, and so you can't shy away from it. But it also builds, I guess, what I can think of is, if we don't have the answer, it's a contact right there. Let me grab your phone number. Let me grab your email.
Yes.
Let me get back to you on that, and kind of build this relationship with that contact. But before we end this episode, I would say, what's your maybe either top one or top three kind of points to someone who's never done flyer distribution before, or is doesn't want to, in the sense that they're scared or they're not sure about it? What would be like your kind of like 3 points? What would be your elevator pitch to a khadim who hasn't done it before?
So I would say it's been the number one thing for me to build up my confidence. Confidence is something that you need you need to put yourself, again, I'll say, trial by fire. Tabligh there's so many benefits. One is you're earning Allah's pleasure. You're going out there for the sake of, Jamaat. You're spending time that you could be doing something else to try to, give people the message of Islam. In and of itself, that's a major blessing. Secondly, in the corporate world, in your job, in whatever, you need to know how to interact with people. It's a basic skill 101 in Canada specifically. This will help you build that skill. And thirdly, our beloved Imam Khalifa Waqt has requested us to go out once a week. I think if you venture out of your home just with this intention that I'm doing this just because, God will help you in so many ways. Oftentimes you don't even know, you answer a question so nicely, you're not even sure how you were able to do that. You find Allah's help is with you. Never be shy. There's 6,000 plus khudam with you. It's not just one person, there's an army with you. And this is an experience that you must try, and you must take part in doing tabligh on the ground, giving people. It will truly bring you real joy.
Definitely. I know every time I've gone and, you even just have one good conversation the whole day, you think about it a lot. It really brings you a lot of joy. It fires you up, gets the adrenaline pumping. But thank you so much, Jazakallah, for, kind of walking us through this. And look out for the rest of our episodes in which we discuss various topics of Tabligh 101, Breaking the Ice.
وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا